This episode of Twin Cities Trekkies is brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor before, let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that help you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership required. They'll also help you to distribute your podcast so it can be heard on many different platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's all you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Okay, everyone, welcome to episode 41 of Twin Cities Trekkies. I am Wes.
And I'm Kenzie.
And today we're going to talk about the Star Trek Strange New Worlds teaser trailer. This came out on March the 9th, so roughly about 2 weeks ago. And we're just going to, we've given you time to watch it again, watch it again, watch it again. Watch it how many ever times you want to watch it. And we're just going to talk about what we saw and stuff like that in this teaser trailer and what we think could happen, stuff like that. So to get in touch with us, it is simple. Send us an email at tctrekkiespodcast@gmail.com. You can send us an email of what you thought of the trailer or anything else you'd like to say about Strange New Worlds. It's our second episode talking about Strange New Worlds. I just realized that because we just did one back in May of 2021, I think. April of 2021. Oh, in March of 2021, I should say. We did one about a year ago. And stuff like that. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. The handle is TC Trekkies Pod. And if you want to leave us a voice message with anything you'd like to say, just go to anchor.fm/Twin Cities Trekkies and hit that little message button and enable your microphone so you can record your voice. Granted, if you want to leave us but if it's totally silent, we don't know what you're going to say. Stuff like that. But just keep in mind that any feedback you do leave, vocal or written, may be featured in a future episode of Twin Cities Trekkies. Star Trek Strange New World Season 1 trailer.
About time.
Yes.
Very much. Not cutting close necessarily, but it definitely, like, just a couple months before being released, definitely kept it very quiet. You know, I think about Picard where people were like dropping, screenshot. There's like captures from on set or noticing like leaked photos of like the progress in which they were developing the show, and we'd see a lot of like images and commentary, but Strange New Worlds stayed kind of quiet. I was very surprised at how quiet things were.
Yeah, so they started filming this last February. Started filming this season 1 of Strange New Worlds. They're probably, as we speak, filming season 2 of Strange New Worlds. We found out they had a COVID pause like they did for Discovery. Run about the same time. It was run about the same time where both Discovery and Strange New Worlds had a COVID pause. But unlike Discovery, where they had a 2-week pause in the middle of their 4th season of production, Strange New Worlds did have a COVID pause, but they didn't have to shut down production. So that was different in terms of their COVID area. But yeah, so we're going to get a whole bunch of new directors for season 1, not including Jonathan Frakes, unfortunately. But it's interesting. I know that the trailer has been somewhat, I mean, after the whole debacle regarding the Investor Day event, back in early February, they had the Strange New Worlds trailer that ended up being a mistake and was leaked out with screenshots, and Paramount Global said, okay, you gotta take those down and stuff like that. And they were all claimed, and some of them got suspended. Some of the Twitter accounts got suspended, like Trek Central. They came back a few days later saying, like, okay, if we took them down, we could be restored, and that's what they did. You just gotta say that they signed a non-disclosure agreement or something like that, so an NDA. So that's pretty much what happened with them. But yes, we finally have gotten footage from this trailer. That's some of it has been was in other advertisements for Paramount, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I know at the Investor Day event they had revealed about Paramount Plus and being the home of Star Trek. Some of those, like, it had the Enterprise, transporter room and stuff like that, and some of that. But some of that showed up in the Strange New Worlds trailer and stuff like that. Including, like, man, we saw the Enterprise for the first time since Discovery season 2. Saw that. It's still the same Enterprise, by the way, still the same redesign. I mean, granted, I hope by the end of the Strange New Worlds series that we get to the way it looked like in the original series, but you never know. But
I would hope they do that. That's one of my favorite. It's so satisfying when shows actually commit to that. Like, I love that with Star Wars, with the story behind, like, getting the plans for the Death Star. That one, they just perfectly captured the style of the original Star Wars movies. I mean, it was amazing. Like, that was one of the things that was just so, like, just brain satisfying, was watching that and actually seeing this style aesthetically captured. And I hope that with this they will end up where the original series does. Yes, and I have a feeling we already know how this is going to end. We all know it. I always like prequel stories. I mean, that's why I appreciate it, because it's easy for people to get hooked because they know what they're signing up for. And I think that can be nice for some people if they're not wondering where this is going to spiral out and end up. Like, sometimes that can give people a little bit of anxiety of the unknown. And it's like, well, here's a show where you know how it's going to end up, but you get to see a lot of, like, build up into the character development of people that we do know a little bit, but there's still a lot to be told about them. Yes, especially with Christopher Pike, and especially with number 1, because those two for sure, Pike has been somewhat fleshed out a little bit with regarding how the end of his story is, and a little bit with the pilot and with the pilot, the cage and stuff like that. But we don't know very much about his captaining style. We knew about a little bit of his captaining style in the cage, but not very fully, I should say. Being the explorer that he is and stuff like that. I mean, granted, we open on that trailer on a winter-like planet. I mean, granted, it could be anywhere, and it could be where they were filming in Canada, but but definitely it's winter time apparently, and he's in this Christopher Pike's in this cabin, apparently living the cowboy life. I don't know, living the cowboy life, because he did mention that, and it's actually a harken back to the first pilot. I mean, and he talking about horses, and he was living in a place where 50 miles of parkland around it. That's what he said. I mean,
but stuff like that. He had 2 horses and stuff like that. That came back, obviously, and that's coming back. And apparently, someone's calling him to rejoin Starfleet or something like that. Maybe he's like contemplating something because he's bearded, he has long hair, and he looks like exactly like Anson Mount did in Hell on Wheels.
Mhm.
I still haven't seen that show, but he looked exactly like he did in that show. So so it may have, so he's long hair, he's bearded, and he's somewhat like removed from Starfleet, kind of like Picard did. I mean, we don't know why. First of all, there's no context of why he's like that. I mean, granted, it could be after the Discovery season 2, where he's probably still contemplating that fate he saw in that episode where he got the time crystal and he found out how he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, it could be
Reduced
he's
to just
affected by
beeps.
it. Beeps, yep, pretty much. I mean, that scene is still scary even today.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, definitely regarding that, we don't know very much about it, but something comes on his communicator going, "We need you back, Captain."
And he's
Stuff
ignoring
like
it,
that.
obviously, and that's a big thing. Like, it feels like something happened where he is resistant to the Federation or what its
Yeah.
future is with it. That he's like ignoring his communicator and kind of seems like he's living off grid. You see very old tech, but like, oh, right next to the communicators and mortar and pestle. It's like, do you even need things like that? We have replicators, man. But obviously it's like you're living off the grid, or it seems like you're living a life that is your own, away from the
Mm-hmm.
Federation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what that does and stuff like that. We also see a lot more visual effects from this series, including like this including a monologue by Una Chin Riley about the science fiction and stuff like that. And a lot of people were saying on social media when they were watching it, going like, "Is that more of like a metaphor for telling the audience that we're coming back to the way things were regarding Star Trek?"
Mm-hmm.
Like classic science fiction-y kind of concepts and stuff like that. And I don't know. I've heard a lot of people compare it to like, say like this is like she's talking to the audience saying like, come to us, pretty much. Watch us because we will be back. We'll be the Star Trek that you want.
Yeah.
Kind of like it was pretty much like that. I've seen a lot of people saying saying that, and I'm going like, that's okay with me. I mean,
Yeah.
That's
I'm
fine
fine
with
with
me.
a Planet of the Week episodic vibe to break up the more internal
serialized.
struggle and serialized shows that are happening right now, where it's like,
Yeah.
I like the complexity that's added with New Trek. I like there's a lot more self-reflection and inward development, but there's also something to be said about just the very like retro future style of like old sci-fi, of like looking, things are simple, we're looking to the future, and that's how we're choosing to be. Like, we look forward, put aside our grievances and personal things to do what we're supposed to do. And that's kind of the vibe of the original series that I think sometimes is just really nice, that I hope this one will capture with that. Like, it just feels good. It feels good to put on sometimes and just watch and enjoy each episode as its own standalone thing. And I hope it's just like,
Yes, and I hope that'll be the same way. I hope it will be like that. Especially since most of the planet is hurting in some way, shape, or
yeah.
fashion. This time, when this show is being made with the pandemic, what's happening in Ukraine, and what else is happening in the world? Where else in the world is people are suffering and hurting? It's gonna. I think it's gonna be. I hope it will return us all to like the. Give a sense of escapism. I think, which sometimes when I know, sometimes with regarding like hard news that's going on in the world, maybe it was. when the invasion of Ukraine happened, I was feeling, like I really should watch Star Trek, and stuff like that. I really should watch like old Star Trek and stuff like that. I mean, I like the Kurtzman era, but then I also want to watch like something that's like making me feel better about my view of humanity. And I'm hoping that when Strange New Worlds comes in May, that it will be just like that. I can, if something terrible were to happen, then I can just turn on Strange New Worlds and I would feel better.
Yeah.
So and I hope that will be the case. Especially seeing this trailer and stuff like that, and I thought, okay, this is good. I can't wait to watch more. And this is just a teaser trailer. So
yeah, I'm hoping another more full fleshed out trailer will happen beforehand.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it will be. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they're probably planning a First Contact day again. Who knows? We'll probably get a more in-depth trailer then, I hope. Because that's what happened with. That's when we got the teaser trailer for Picard last year. Was at First Contact Day, and then we got a full one back in June of 2021. But I have a feeling that we're probably going to get it sooner rather than later because we are approaching less than 2 months away from the premiere. So I have a feeling it's going to be. I think once after Discovery is over with, which is after this recording, which is March 13th, so the season finale is March 17th. So after that, March 17th, we'll probably get more and more about Strange New Worlds because Picard will be by itself, and that will be only Star Trek until the May 5th when Strange New Worlds premieres. So, yeah. I think probably be a lot more material. I mean, because I had serious doubts. I had doubts. I personally had doubts that it would actually premiere on May 5th. I actually did have very many doubts about it.
I did too, because I'm like, we haven't heard anything. I have a feeling they're going to announce a delay. Like, I just figured that would happen at some point, but nothing ever happened.
No, not at all. And it's crazy that we're getting this trailer pretty much right away, and I think probably going to get a big bang boom of promotional material for Strange New Worlds, especially once it gets closer, and stuff like that. I mean, granted, I think the First Contact Day will be on the 30-day deadline before it gets there, so April 5th. So you never know. I have a feeling we're going to get a full trailer by then. And then we'll probably come up with a predictions episode for this podcast based on that trailer, because we can't really do a predictions episode right now because it's only a teaser trailer, and not much has been shown outside of that trailer and other things as well regarding certain aspects of the show. Like they did mention at the Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour that Laan Noonien Singh is actually a relative of Khan Noonien Singh, played by Christina Chong. That's a relative of Khan. Yeah. So that's one thing that we finally got the reveal about. But everyone had speculated that for months on end beforehand. It's like, is she related to Khan? Well, it was confirmed. So yes.
Yeah, she is.
So she is. And then I'm looking forward to hearing more. I mean, once the series begins and stuff like that, I'm looking forward to getting more fleshed out stories for definitely for Una, but definitely for the rest of the supporting cast, especially for Uhura and Christine Chapel and Mbenga. So because these are characters. I mean, granted, we didn't know much about Uhura prior to the original series. We didn't know anything about her. I mean, we didn't know that she was on the Enterprise before Kirk. Yeah. So,
and even in other series, like new Star Trek movies, she's very quiet. Like, she won't even tell people her first name. She just very like very quiet about her past. So we don't know a lot about her, either for her own
Yeah,
protection or just doesn't want people to know.
yeah, exactly. And we knew about a little bit about Christine Chapel's backstory in the original series. Like she was engaged to be married to Dr. Roger Corby and stuff like that, who was like an android scientist and stuff like that. We knew that, but that's all we knew about her.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was revealed very early on in the original series that she was engaged to be married to Dr. Roger Corby. I don't know if that's going to be a name drop or we'll actually see Dr. Corby again. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see if it does, especially that. But the one thing I really want is a shouty Spock.
Yes.
For Strange New Worlds. That's all I want. I want a shouty Spock because during that era, we didn't know anything about Spock, because because during the pilot he's shouty, he's barking out orders, and then he was not the cool, calm, logical Vulcan that became the character that we all know.
Yeah.
That happened in the transition between the first and second pilots. So and stuff like that. So where does it diverge? Where does he become the cool, calm Vulcan self that he becomes later on that we all know? So I'm looking forward to seeing the transition to the shouty, barking out orders, and screaming, "The women!" But definitely get into that cool, calm, logical self that he eventually becomes.
Yeah. I appreciate that dimension too, because it's like you don't get to see a lot of his human side when he's playing himself in any of the series. So that's sort of a human side we get to see.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that. And also, yeah, I mean, like I said, we all know how the story ends. We all know when it's like, I think it's going to be like this: computer, transfer command codes to Captain James G. Kirk. And there you go. And then Enterprise flies off. And, and stuff like that. So, but, I don't know about this, but I don't know if they're going to be doing a voiceover for the title sequence like they did for the Next Generation and the original series. I don't know, but that would be interesting if they do it again. I mean,
I would dig it.
I would dig it too. I mean, granted, it would be Anson Mount who would be saying it, but I'd dig it too. I mean, I'm looking forward. That's the one thing I'm actually looking forward to seeing is the title sequence for.
I want to see how much they really try to play up they've had so much success with recounting the original series aesthetics. Like I just think of Deep Space Nine, like the whole Trials and Tribulations, like that. That episode just garnered so much because it was so cool to see everybody in those uniforms. And I just feel like if they can find the sweet spot without being too cliche to bring back some of that retro Star Trek feel, I feel like it's just going to be such a big win.
Oh yeah, totally. Yes, totally. And it's crazy. Like, and I think with every season so far, with every season succeeding this one, it'll be different every year.
Yep.
I mean, because Picard did that. I mean, Discovery has done that. I mean, regarding like the way that the title sequence plays, and sort of like certain things that were present in the upcoming season. Like Picard is a shattered window. It starts with a shattered window, and stuff like that. And Discovery, the succeeding seasons after season one have always shown what's to come in that season. Like in this season it's the black dark matter anomaly and stuff like that. But before then, it was in season 3, it was the time travel to the future and stuff like that. So, and it's just like, and seeing all the effects from the 32nd century. So, and that's pretty much what it is. And I think So much to come, yes. So much Star Trek to come, And the only one that hasn't changed its title sequence from year to year is Lower Decks, but that's okay. But
Yeah.
I mean, it changed like one little aspect of it, but
Mm-hmm.
between the seasons 1 and 2. But because in the first season it was Borg cubes and Romulan warbirds, in season 2 it's Pac-led starships. So that's the only thing that was different.
I love the Packlids. I'm so glad that
Yeah.
they had a resurgence.
Yeah, and fleshed them out more in Lower Decks. I'm glad they did. And it's going to be interesting to see regarding this title sequence. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I'm looking forward to seeing the original struggles with different alien races. Like, so much of it is lore in like all of the series of like these once were our enemies or once were people that we struggled with, and it'll be cool to start seeing the origins of that fleshed out too.
Yes, especially I mean, I don't know if they have brought back some of the Klingons. I don't know if they're gonna bring back Klingons because they didn't bring them back in Discovery.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna see some original series Klingons.
Yeah, we're gonna see that. I hope so. I mean, I know that they're trying to. I mean, I know Mary Chieffo, who plays Laurel in the first 2 years of Discovery, wants to be back for Strange New Worlds. Somehow. I mean, granted, we don't know if she came back at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be just because of COVID. She couldn't fly to Toronto and do the stuff. But I mean, granted, now with COVID, being under control, I have a feeling that could be possibly for season 2. I mean, see more Klingons, obviously, because I think Discovery is trying to shy away from the Klingons.
Yeah.
This, at least because of the very negative reaction to the first 2 years regarding how they looked.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no problem with it.
Me either.
I mean, personally, I didn't have a problem with it. The only problem I had with MacKenzie was how they talked.
Yeah. My biggest thing is there should be diversity in the way that aliens they shouldn't look at how different humans can look. I'm like, they're allowed to have different foreheads and face structures and colors and looks. Like, not everybody necessarily has to look exactly the same. And if they are, it's like some weird break away from how the standard of how they look. I'm like, well, what's the human standard look like? How would you draw a human? And be like, I want to see that. I want to see ones that have mutations, ones that have smooth foreheads. What about Klingons that have smooth foreheads or are born looking very different than their counterparts? Like, what's wrong with that? Let's see it.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe some are still bald. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm so interested in like seeing the diversity of like, actually fleshing out quite literally aliens to look different than what they usually standardly look like. So I feel like that takes away from me believing in the future and how we interact with aliens. I'm like, they're probably going to look very different. So I don't think any alien looks at one human and goes, you guys look all exactly the same, because we don't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there are people with like missing appendages, people who are blind, people who have different colors of hair and clothes and like cultures, everything. And I'm like, there's not really any way to be like, that's what a human looks like. It's like, well, everybody's got 2 arms, 2 legs, I guess, for the most part, if we're all going to go humanoid, but our face structures, everything's so different. So give them a break. And I'm like, I like it. And so I hope we see more of that.
Yeah, the only criticism I have for the first season of Discovery, for the Klingons especially, is the way they talk, is because it felt like they were eating peanut butter sandwiches.
Wasn't there a difficulty with the makeup or something, the prosthetics they were wearing, where it made them like unable to speak correctly?
Yeah, it was due to the makeup, and but it sounded like, personally, like, if you ate a peanut butter sandwich and had some of it stuck to the roof of your mouth when you were eating it and trying to talk, that's what it sounded like. I mean, that to me, that's what it sounded like. They had peanut butter in the roof of their mouths, or they ate a peanut butter sandwich and had a piece of the sandwich stuck in their mouths and they couldn't get it out from the roof of their mouth.
Yeah.
And that was the only criticism I have for the way the Klingons talked in Discovery. That was the only problem I have with it. Because it sounded very much, it sounded to me very comical when it wasn't. So, but I'm also hoping for humor, a lot more humor.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I think, Picard's getting there now regarding getting more humor in their season 2 of Picard, which was something that it lacked it a lot in season 1 of Picard.
I think with like the actual group being together now and like, you know, relations have been made and people are comfortable with each other, and now there is that sense of humor and belonging and camaraderie and like being able to kind of poke and nudge and laugh with each other now. Yeah,
and that's what I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with like maybe here's what I'm also hoping too for Strange New Worlds. I'm also hoping for like an ending of an episode to be like some of the very classic endings of the original series. You know, like they learn a lesson or they talk about the whole situation they were in and stuff like that. And, you know, someone like starts like, there's no trouble at all, or, you know, something like that. Or or there was an episode of the original series where, Captain, I refuse to sit here and be insulted. So I refuse to stand here and be insulted, and walks away. You know, it's like, I'm hoping that we have those classic kind of endings, you know, regarding, and it makes you feel good. It makes you laugh, and makes you feel good about yourself afterward. You know, that's what I'm hoping for as well, because, you know, that's one thing that was very charming about the original series was those endings, especially some of them when it was just Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And stuff like that.
I think as long as the writers stay on target and know their audience, I think that it'll turn out really good. Yeah. So far they've been figuring out like the tone for Star Trek and the range they have with that tone, with things like Lower Decks to Picard to Discovery, and being able to kind of adjust where needed and know what voice they're missing, which I think right now the voice that's missing is just that retro feel good of Star Trek. So I think they'll tap in, because none of the shows quite feel like, you know, like original series or like Next Generation type of like camaraderie yet. I mean, like some do, like Picard's getting there, Discovery has its moments, but there's still a lot more conceptual, deeper, more conflict driven, like exploring very hard moments. And so, and then Lower Decks captures it, but in a very like goofy, like off the like over the top sense, like not so much, like they do have like their struggles, but that's the closest thing I think I can find to like the feeling of the original series without it being like, if you turned the original series into slapstick, that's like the feeling of I love. But now it's like we have that chance to have the opening of like capturing original series vibes, since it is leading up to that, and hopefully they'll do a good job of that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the case. I know regarding that, because I think we need that now more than ever, especially given the events in the world and stuff like that, and hopefully get that optimism back, because there are some optimistic moments in the other shows, especially in Discovery and in Lower Decks, and you know the other shows as well. Definitely Prodigy, definitely. But this one is definitely got to be this optimism, because the world is pretty much a dark place right now. We need Star Trek now more than ever. Okay, I think that's about it. Any final thoughts?
I'm sure there's more to come around this conversation as time goes on. We get closer to the release date of May 5th.
Yes, definitely. Especially once a full trailer comes out, we will definitely be following back up on this and, you know, do probably just one predictions episode because we're less than 2 months away.
Yeah.
But who knows? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see if we get a full trailer because yeah, I mean, I hope we get a lot of like the original series vibes, like you said, like regarding like the endings or beaming down the planets and talking with the natives, that kind of thing. So, all right. So until next time, take care and live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.